When I first sat down with Dr. Joy Macci, I thought we would talk about mental toughness, elite coaching, maybe some neuroscience, and trust me, we definitely did. What I didn't expect was a story that started with a near-death experience and ends with a mission to help millions rediscover joy through sport, and more specifically pickleball. This is someone who went from waking up in intensive care, unable to speak, to coaching legends like Serena and Venus Williams, which is absolutely incredible. And now she's pioneering brain-based training methods for pickleball players all around the freaking world. So she calls it the joy of quantum sports, which is awesome. And trust me, whether you are a 5-0 player or you're just starting out on the pickleball court, or if you're playing any other sport, this conversation will change how you think about your brain, your body, and your ability to bounce forward after any setback. That's something I can promise you. So from clinics that she's done in Dubai to teaching, as she calls it, Sky 5 lobs, Joy is an absolute force. And her story isn't just powerful, it's absolutely unforgettable. So this is a conversation that I can promise you is going to challenge the way you think, and is also going to challenge the way that you go about the rest of your life. From your body to your brain to what you can actually accomplish. So with that being said, this is a conversation that is worth every single second. That is a promise I can absolutely make you. And at the end of the day, I really hope that it fills your cup. Go enjoy the episode. I promise you it's worth it. I like to brief everybody on the fact of we usually start these interviews off pretty hot. We dive into the weeds pretty quickly. So what I would like to ask you is you've really coached elite athletes, business leaders, everyday people through some of their biggest challenges. But for you personally, what would you say is your greatest failure, and what did it teach you about yourself?
My greatest failure, my biggest challenge was when I was in college. I was a top
Okay.
honor student. I was number one on the tennis team, active student. Life was easy, active in sorority, church, everything was game on. I was in my A game. Then 15 minutes later, I'm in intensive care, hooked up to life support, coming in and out of coma, speaking in numbers, not words. I was getting up for
Okay.
church in the KKG sorority house, had a freak fall down a flight of marble stairs and a skull fracture concussion. To this day, people don't know
Okay.
why I'm still here. And during that time, which I don't tell everybody, but I did have a heaven is for real experience. And God showed me that joy, life's a gift. I give everyone unique gifts destined for greatness. Have you fulfilled yours? Well, maybe it's a little scared. No. I said, Father, I'm not done. And he kind of gently, gestured me. He says, Joy, you were given your name for a reason. Your mission is to find out why. So, blessed with a second chance at life, my name, divine purpose, and life passion is to live, give, and share joy in the world, helping others define and align their God given gifts, goals, and greatness. So, that's kind of how I tick.
I talk about an intro, right?
That's a little different. You probably weren't expecting that.
No, listen, I mean, I,
Mm.
I think it leads me into my follow-up question is like, how did that experience really shape what you think about resilience? Like, what does
Oh,
resilience even mean?
it's like that to bounce back, but bounce forward. You know what me
Yeah.
because the life's red carpet got yanked out from under me. Because I had
Mhm.
coming out of the hospital, I had a speech impediment, my weight down to 98 pounds. I didn't know who I was, where I was, or what had happened. You go from being top in the thing to not even know who you are,
Yeah.
and then rebuilding that. I kind of learned that my gift was just to help others inspire their greatness versus me being the one that's, trying to be in the sports, elite athlete. And then since then, I ended up doing international tennis at high levels. Rick and I ran Macy Academy, trained Serena and Venus Williams, Andy Roddick, Capriati. And then now for the last 6 years, I've shared the passion with pickleball, caught the bug. And I love doing that, the same type stuff of teaching people how to be their top 1%. But
Yeah.
everyone's unique and different. You know what I mean? As you know, Alec, the way you're wired is very special. but you've got to find your way to be your best. And how it is your best friend, they might be a totally different. And that's
Yeah.
where finding your success code. And that's what, to me, the fun is when coaching athletes, whether national champions that I work with, to people going through like Parkinson's disease or just getting over open heart surgery or something like that. You work with everybody to feel how their body, mind, spirit, how you can interact that to make it happen.
So when you had this experience, this
Mhm.
calling, so to speak,
Yeah.
how did you end up then taking that first step? Like
Mm.
what did you end up doing to say, how can I support other people going through the same thing, through their highs and lows?
Yeah.
Like, did you even know there was a space or a demand for that?
It, it kind of grew, you know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
struggled so much to get back. And then I says, gosh, other people have to be doing this too, and I've got to help them. And then it's like a shift of the focus off of me to we. How do I help others win in the sport of
Yeah.
life? And then, to me, we feel so blessed. Coaching is it's like when you have a student walk on the court and they're having challenges, and your key thing is to give them a little joy, give them a little chance to align something that they feel successful about or good about, and then you help them jumpstart to the next step or overcome a big challenge. They've just played a big tournament. They got, they locked out. They couldn't do anything. They felt like, they're not anybody. How do you get them to shift their focus? Hey, what are your gifts? And how are
Yeah.
we going to grow those gifts? And what were your challenges? I love Nelson Mandela's philosophy. It's what I call it the inner winner way. Is my inner winner pickleball philosophy a little bit is I always win. I either win
Hmm.
or I learn. So if you lose
Hmm.
something, say, hey, what did I learn? What did they do well? What can I improve? And if you focus on that about learning and growing, you never stop growing. Because if you don't fail, you're not at playing the game of life. You've got to
Yeah.
get out. You got to step out. You got to fall flat on your face and say, God, pick yourself up, brush off your little knees and say, oh my gosh, what do I do to improve that? Okay. Get our ego behind a little bit and say, okay, how do I fix that? And that's what we all have to learn is to step back up, bounce back,
Yeah.
and find a way to bounce forward. Hmm.
So what is an elite athlete or a high performer? Like, what does it actually take to be one of those individuals that is in
Hmm.
that position? Because there's so much of our audience
Hmm.
often comments on, like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to be a high performer? Like, what
Yep.
even is a high performer, right? What is an elite
Yep.
athlete? What are all of the components that make an elite athlete an elite athlete? Can you
Mhm.
describe that to us a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, because you've got mechanics, you've got movement, you've got mindset, you've got your
Yeah.
physiology, you got your your psychology, you have your biomechanics, you have everything, you have your neuroscience. But see, what most of the sports, the coaching world in the past, we focused predominantly on the body.
Yeah.
To get you stronger, to get quicker, get your flexibility, get your repetitions, learn your strokes, learn how to be accurate, do this. But how many times have people really working on the brain first? Because people, the science shows our brain fires before our body moves. And we're training our body, but we're not training our brain. And that's kind of why I was honored to launch the Joy of Quantum Sports at the World Pickleball Conference with Dr. Richard or Rick Guerrera. He is a amazing neuroscience Stanford graduate. He's off the charts, and he and I have partnered to build a program that we work on doing train the brain, master the game. You know what I mean? Because it's like, yes, we're going to do the body. I'm still going to do all the elite coaching of, the body, the different things, the movie, the mechanics, the movement, and the mindset, but also to really start plugging in the brain. Because what I learned from my head injury, so this is kind of goes back to my head injury, where I learned afterward how to help others with that, is when I didn't know who I was, where I was, I had a speech impediment and was trying to figure out and rewire the brain. We've got to teach people how to rewire your brain, refocus your body potential to realign, what you can do in the long term.
Mm.
Yeah. Hmm. Or no, so
So
yeah, rewire the brain, reposition the body to accelerate your potential on the long term.
so
Makes
walk
sense a
us
little bit?
through
Yeah.
It does. So walk us through a little bit more for the audience listening, the quantum sport philosophy, for especially for someone who hasn't heard of it yet. and is totally probably going to hear more about it at PickleCon if they're in attendance. What does it
Right.
actually mean?
Well, it just means is it's connecting science, sport, and self-mastery in one.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different there's different components. A good example, let me give you an example of one of my neuroscience drills that I do on the court with my students. I have the mini
Okay.
balls and the mini paddle, and I get them catch hitting and learning to do. When you get a brain, when it has to focus, I got one of my students was getting ready for a singles tournament. And so we spent an hour playing pickleball with mini balls and mini paddles. You have to 10x your focus, your attention. You go from there to there. Your intensity is focused. I could really feel that. I had a day where I did quite a few of that. My little brain was wired, but was wiped out by the end of the day after about 9 hours of lessons. You know what I mean? But it was a situation where getting the brain to do something, that's the neuroplasty, to do something where you challenge it to grow to a new level. See,
Yeah.
most of the times you're hitting a ball. A lot of times in tennis, I would get where we would work on triple vision and things like that, where we'd have two balls hit at the same time. We would catch hit two balls and do that back with volleys and that. But now we carried to another level when you got mini balls and mini paddles doing that same thing. So you
Mm,
see how that's something that gets your brain to go from here to here. It's focus,
I
it's
will
feel, it's finesse.
I will tell you from my personal experience of using the mini balls um, and the mini paddle, you go from feeling like you can't compare to you pick up the pickleball and then it feels like a beach ball.
It
Like you
does.
literally feel like you're hitting a beach ball, which is crazy, right?
Yep. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it it really just shows you in that retrospect of how the mind works, how it
Yeah.
doesn't intentionally play games on you, right? Same thing
No.
when I think about like speed of the game. So
hmm
something has been great for me is I've been using the ball machine a little bit more. And
Yeah.
on the ball machine, you could crank it up to a certain speed.
Right.
Well, when now you're hitting balls or reacting to balls at, let's say it's 60 miles an hour and it feels like a
hmm
shotgun out of the machine,
Right.
you go to a regular pickleball game, it feels super slow. You're like, I have all the
Exactly.
time in the world, right?
Exactly. hmm it's another component of that. Do you know your dominant eye?
So crazy, I do, and
Okay,
it's
good.
my left. I'm a righty, and it's my left eye.
Okay. Yeah, I'm the same way. We're cross-eye dominant. And
Yeah.
it's what people say, oh, my backhand sucks. No, it's not that your backhand sucks. You've just got to tilt your head and your eyes and adjust your eyes to adapt for that. And see, this is where
Huh.
brain can compensate for it. A good
Interesting.
example, Dr. Rick, he says, Joy, you've got a little bit of a blind spot over here because he'd see my eyes and he goes, well, let me help work on fixing that. I said, okay, cool. I'd love that.
Yeah.
And then I went after, he says, Dr. Rick, I hadn't told you I had a life-threatening head injury in college. He goes, Joy, I already knew. He goes, when your eyes were following my ball, I saw both of them shaking like that. So I knew you had a brain trauma. I went, what? That was 44 years ago that accident happened. You know what I mean? But
That's
but my
crazy.
brain had still fired it, was here.
Yeah.
But then he worked on opening up the eyes and different things. What's kind of unique about our program, there's a few other programs that are trying to do some things that are starting to launch into this, but most of them
Yeah.
don't have a neuroscience doctor behind it too, that we can, not just diagnose things,
Yeah.
but we also can fix it. You know what I mean? But it takes that winning combination. And I don't know everything. He's very good in that. I'm good on that. I'm adapting different things. This is where we're blending our two expertises to make it a winning combination.
So you really worked with all these elite athletes and a lot of
hmm
high performers in business, and then decided
Yep.
to bring it to joy of sport and joy of pickleball. So
hmm
tell me what the mission is behind joy of sport and joy of pickleball.
Well, it's to live, give, and share joy in the world, helping others define
Okay.
and align their gifts, goals, and greatness. Because that's to me to share joy. And pickleball is such an amazing place. A fun example, I had the pleasure of speaking at Pickleball Minds in Dubai in January. And I'd had a
Okay.
little dream. I'm like a little kid. I'm a big kid, or a big kid. And I've been working on a trip. We're going to be taking a group of pickleball players in November 2nd through 9th to Dubai and Abu Dhabi for a pickleball adventure and a world tours and things like that. So if you want to go, I'd love you to
Okay.
see you go with us. But
Yeah.
I had a dream in my head to play pickleball on a camel. Well, I've actually got a video. We did that in January. In January,
What?
when we were doing that thing, one of my friends that owns one of the
How
nice
did it
pickleball
go?
facilities said, "Oh, it's fabulous." It was like, "Here's the camel," and we were just hitting back and forth. And the guy says, "We've got a
Oh my
video,"
God.
so I'll send you the video if you want to see it. But see,
Absolutely.
that's the kid in me. You know what I mean? But it's like
Yeah.
we've got to have dreams, and that's what so
Mm,
many times players they'll get knocked down or something like that, Alec, or whatever, and bounce back. I said,
mm,
guys, keep refocusing on your dreams. And even though they're bigger than you can do right now, if you have those dreams, they're going to move you to that next level. They're going to accelerate that next thing. And if you get your
mm.
dream big and crazy enough, like I do, for me to take people all over the world, to do different things and to play pickleball on a camel or to take a yacht cruise or, to go see the Ferrari world or something like, it's just, you got to have fun.
You do. There's I think every athlete, including myself, can relate to this of you get to a point where if you're working too much, you lose that joy in the sport that you've been allocating
Yeah.
so much time to. And
Hmm.
then you reflect and you're asking yourself again, why am I doing this? Like why am I allocating my time to this sport? And when you often reflect, you realize like you're allocating your time because you love the sport, like you love competing, you love doing it. So like that's where someone like me who may struggle through navigating that often, it's like you're reminded that you're doing this because it's fun for you. You love to compete, you love to challenge yourself. And then it's
Hmm.
easy for you to move on from such a result oriented approach or even
Right.
not being able to figure out a forehand dink that day. Like, let's say you're
Right.
trying to really roll that cross court forehand dink that everybody
Hmm.
wants to do now, like Anna Bright,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
when you're struggling through that, you realize like you end up loving the process. Like you're here because you're willing
Bingo.
to learn, you're willing to endure. But it's those reminders. And the reason I'm getting at is like, how do we catch ourselves, right? How do we get better at catching ourselves in the process rather than that dragging on, 2, 3, 4 months. And then
Right.
before you know it, you're not having fun anymore on the court. How do you catch yourself when you're able to be reflective of saying like, you know what? I'm here because I love doing this rather than dwelling on it for the next 30 to 60 to 90 days.
Instead of having a pity party, you mean? Exactly,
Yes.
having a
Instead of
royal pity party.
exactly,
Well, I
exactly.
think a fun way is for us to take a big perspective in life. If you get the overview, which I kind of had when I was 20 years old, when I had the heaven is real percentage, you're looking down and you don't know, if you're coming back or not.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing one of two things in life. We are either growing or we're dying.
I
And some
agree with
people are
that.
dying because they're not doing anything. You know what I mean? They might be a living being going through the motions, but their body, mind, soul is not alive. And then
Mm.
they're growing. So this is where, if you can realize when you have those challenges, okay, I'm growing. What am I learning? You know what I mean? But how can I get better on that? And this is
Yeah.
where the best players in the world, whether we were working with, Serena and Venus Williams, or I was a University of Dallas adjunct professor. Out of the blue, I was asked to come do this. It's
Okay.
joy. Well, University of Dallas advocate for the PADS Leadership Academy. I said, what's the PADS? Professional Association of Athletic Development Specialists. Well, little did I know they put me on a plane to fly to the Major League Baseball World Headquarters in New York. And so I said, okay, I'd love to be, I had two other professors and myself. We were going to the event. We were doing like a 2-day workshop, and then we're going to do a 1-year, like master's level professional certification of the PADS Leadership.
Yep.
Well, our students were 10 students. The 10 students
Huh.
were executive sports leaders of the National Basketball Association, the Women's Tennis Association, the Wrestling Association, a University of Dallas, University of Florida professor. And I just went, wow. I was humbled by just going, you know what I mean? Because here you've got executive sports leaders of the world, that are doing that to learn and grow. But again, they were
Well,
continually learning and growing. So that was just kind of one of those fun and crazy experiences.
I I could honestly like me listening to you speak. We could just be here for 2 hours, so I'm like, I gotta figure out a way to condense this interview a little bit.
Oh, I know.
Um,
Okay, no worries. Okay.
so either way, I love everything that you're doing. That's why
Good.
there's a question that I have here in regards to the mental performance that we're talking about, right?
Hmm.
And pickleball is truly exploding beyond the U.S.,
Yeah.
right? Globally,
Oh,
as you
big time.
mentioned. And there's
Hmm.
so much opportunity to really shape the culture that it's developing on. And it seems
Yep.
like you are such a big component of that right now. So,
Mhm.
how do you see mental performance coaching fitting into the future of the sport moving forward?
Oh, a viable key. It's like
Yeah.
if you want to win, you've got to plug in. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's a situation. I use a lot of rhymes. It's what's neat is when I'm using fun rhymes like that when I coach all the time.
Yeah.
Hands in front, make your opponent grunt. Hands behind, you're behind. These they
Yeah.
sink into your subconscious 10 times faster, and I can lock into changing your
Okay.
muscle memory and your different things a lot faster. So you see,
Interesting.
and it makes it more fun. It's like he doesn't get too serious on that. But the importance of the mental and the coaching is important because it's going to grow the game. That's going to help, develop because there's a lot. You look at the number of injuries right now. I developed a
Mm.
new stroke in the game, which I call Sky Five, because we've done statistics. You look at statistics on people that run down lobs and get the shots. You lose
Yeah.
98% of the time, and you waste a lot of energy. So what I've learned of coaching top 1% elite tennis players, which I'm bringing that mindset into the
Huh.
pickleball world, to focus on the top 1%, you want to learn how to do less and get more. So an easy way to correct
Hmm.
that is instead of running around like a grasshopper and running back, hitting a ball that you miss 98%. And if you do, you've run out of gas. So you're playing 10 matches in one day. In a tournament, you don't have any gas left in the tank by the finals. Do
Mm.
you see how that works a little bit? Instead, do what I
Absolutely.
call a sky five. It's like a high five the sky. You pivot and pop. You see the ball come, it goes over your head. If it's already over your head, you pivot sideways, shuffle back, and then just pop up a lob and come one step forward and back into the volley position. You don't let it
Mm.
bounce. Take it in the air, or you're going to be square. You know what I mean? Because you've got a
Hmm.
chance. You take 2 steps back, you can pivot and you safely move back, hit a lob up the middle deep, come back in, then you're back into position. That's your
So if
sky
I'm on
five.
the other, so if
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of
Yeah.
the ball,
Yep.
should I be considering now taking more lobs, knowing that the statistics say that I'm going to win 98% of the time?
No, no, no. You lose. No, you did. Oh, you hit lobs. You mean?
Meaning, yeah, if should I
Well,
hit
but
more
it
lobs?
depends. Well, no, it depends on the. Yeah, it depends on. I'm saying the lobs that bounce deep is what those were more the
Okay,
statistic that type stuff. What I'm
gotcha.
saying, a
It
lot of
has
times,
to
because
balance.
now if someone hits a bad lob, then you eat pickleball for lunch. It's not so fun. You know what I mean?
Oh, I've
Because
done
if
it.
they hit a
We've
short
all
move,
done it.
haven't we all
Yeah.
done it? Yes, exactly. So that's a different scenario. But it's not. It's not saying 98% of all lobs. No, nah. But the ones
Oh
that they
my god.
lob back deep that bounce, those are the ones I've proven. A good offensive lob that bounces close to the baseline, that's what I'm
Hmm.
talking about. Hmm.
So there's a piece of this that I at least want to give a lot of our audience that I struggle with myself. To be honest, I've gotten a lot better at it, but I
Hmm.
think that all of us struggle in those moments of high pressure,
Yep.
right? When whether the score is close, whether you feel like an opponent's better than you or worse than you,
Hmm.
like your psychology changes a little bit on the depending on those
Hmm.
dynamics. And we often feel ourselves get tight. We may be shortness of breath. We may
Hmm.
not be able to focus as much as we used to.
Yep.
So like in that moment, is there a couple things that we could possibly do to recenter ourselves, bring us back to our baseline, and get in a position where we can now be present in that next point?
Absolutely. I'm going to give you 3 stress busters and 2 success cubes. Okay, the
Okay.
2 success cubes are pretty much what you, well, let me give you the success
Yeah.
busters first. Smile, breathe, and move. As you were saying before,
Huh.
smiling sends positive endorphins to the brain. You're nervous, you smile, and that sends
Interesting.
positive chemical in the brain. So that's an easy, cheap way. Plus, also when you smile, how does that look? Does that look scared? No, it presents an image of confidence. The second is your breath. The length of your breath is directly related to your state of mind. If it's shallow, it's fear based. If it's deep, it's calm based. And a good way to
Okay.
breathe deep, if some of my students, they get excited, say, Joy, I hold my breath. I said, okay, then I want you after on every single shot you start to hitting, I want you to say yes, yes. The word yes psychologically gets you into a good mode, but saying the word yes makes you exhale and breathe.
Interesting. Does that have any correlation to why tennis players grunt, or is it a
Uh-huh.
power dynamic too? It
That's
does.
a little bit of both of those
Okay.
things, both of those things. And the
I've
last
never
thing is
made that
moving.
connection
You
till
watch,
just now.
you watch Annalie Waters. When she
Yeah.
gets frustrated, she bounces on both feet. That jars her. See, that's the jolt.
Hmm.
That's the movement. It's just like the wake up shock thing. That's what, or some people do. You're going to see, boom, both feet bouncing. And it's like when you get frustrated, boom, get that nervous energy out. If you don't do it, if you
How,
don't move, your feet get flat and all the other things, then, then you get stiff and that.
so I shouldn't be. So if I am high anxiety in that moment or high
Hmm.
cortisol, high stress, I shouldn't be trying to calm my feet down, or I should be trying to warm my body up while controlling my breath. Is that really where we're getting at?
Well, the breath is more of the calming factor. Your
Okay.
feet moving can be your energy, and you can use it to energize
Gotcha.
you or to get energy and stress out. So it
Okay.
depends on you how you're wired, that type situation. Another two things that will help you is when your mind gets what I call the monkey mind under pressure, you know what I mean? When you feel that, is
Yeah.
you want to, number one, look for the small holes in the ball. When the ball is about a foot from you, you can normally start to see the small holes, but that gets your brain to zero focus back in. Instead of
Just
saying,
on something,
"Oh, he's
just on a
watching,
really
what's
small
going on?"
target.
Watch for the little holes, not just the ball. Start watching for the holes. The second thing
Okay.
is working on targets and tactics. The key thing is just I want to hit it here. Before they even hit the ball, know where you want to hit it.
Okay.
And see if you shift to the small holes in the ball and your
Mm,
targets, that gets your brain focused back into confidence mode versus fear mode. What happens whenever we get into the fear mode, that paralyzes us, or we start analyzing, analysis to paralysis. I think we've all felt that.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So that's
I
where
do.
you've just got to find little steps of what to do instead of what not to do. Instead of saying, "Oh, I shouldn't be doing this." No, I said, when people miss a shot, I said, "Guys, don't say, 'What did I do wrong?' I don't want to hear that." I said, "I want you to tell me, what are you going to do to make it great? You miss a shot.
Yeah.
What are you going to do next time to make it great?" I use success psychology instead of negative psychology, beating yourself up on what you didn't do perfect.
So I'll tell you a scenario that hopefully people can relate to in the audience, that I'm thinking of that's the top of mind. I think of playing the slow game at the net, and a lot of people talk about like just wanting to wear other teams down. And
Hmm.
what I mean by that is just dinking a lot. What I've realized though in playing that type of game, and this is obviously variance on your opponents and
Hmm.
strategy, but
Hmm.
for the sake of the story, I'll speed it up. When you're trying to win on a dink, you're so stressed about hitting a perfect dink,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But when you're saying that I'm using this dink or I'm pulling them out wide to open
Yeah.
up the middle, or I'm going to the middle to open up wide, or I'm going to try and hit them like my ball in a spot that makes them uncomfortable, let's say left foot, we
Hmm.
know is a common target. I'm now setting up my next ball, which could be an attack right out of
Yes,
the
yes,
air
yes, yes,
or
yes,
off the
yes.
bounce. So I've noticed absolutely if I'm in the mindset of setting something up, I'm not worried about hitting a perfect dink. I'm hitting the
Exactly.
dink because I'm worried about or I'm focused on trying to
Yep.
get that next ball. So
Bingo.
if there's
Just
any way that I could relate, that's probably how.
no, absolutely.
Does that
See,
make sense?
that's the way to focus on winning. See,
Yeah.
playing and just not missing is playing not to lose.
Yeah.
Playing to win is it's like in pickleball, you need four things. It's what I wrote in my first book, Serendipity of Success. It unlocks people's personal success system with the TFSP success system: technique,
Okay.
fitness, strategy, and positive mindset. These are the
Okay.
fundamentals for success and performance. I love alliterations. You know what I mean?
Huh.
Because you can win at anything. Now, technique, the key thing is simplicity is the key to victory. Learn how to do less and get more. And this is what I
Okay.
know when playing at 5.0 and 5.5 levels. And when I first got my clock clean, and then I had to learn how to win, it was the situation where you've got to quickly set up the tip hand still, and then you can execute anything with the wrist isolation. It's not the big swings. It's quick set, quick feet,
Mm.
smooth. And that's the way it's cute with some of the gentlemen that I coach that are like fives and up to 5.5 level players. It's really cute. They goes,
Yeah.
"Troy, we're so frustrated. We can't read what you're doing." You know what I mean? But that's the quick set, quick hands, hands still. At the last minute, you can change it. And you also want to use your spin, either your top spin, as you were talking about, or the inside out scoop spin,
Yeah.
or the different things. But it's the quick set, quick thing. But hands calm and through. It's just like the martial arts. You see someone and they're very
Huh.
calm, they're flow, and then boom, they throw the punch, the two punches, and the guy didn't see what hit him.
Yeah.
That's the same thing in pickleball. Quick hands, quick set, pedal ready, then boom, you can do whatever you want at the last minute. You see the move, oh, you can shift it. You can do a different thing. Okay.
Interesting.
Now,
So I'm trying to.
yeah,
So if there's anything that I'm kind of relating to that, it's like I want to keep my movements fairly simple
bingo.
and not long, not getting myself way out of position, not
Mhm.
trying to do a big jack sock cobra
Yeah, yeah,
shot.
yeah,
It's really
exactly. Because you
keeping them
look at the
simple.
longer, look at the players, in the sport of tennis, it's been around. You look at your Roger Federers, you look at the greats in the other sports, you look at Michael Jordan in basketball, you look at all of the greats in the high level. They
Yeah.
learned how to do less and get more. Simplicity is the key
Mm,
to victory. And if you're doing a big swing, your opponent can read it. But if your hands are
yeah.
still, they don't know what you're going to do. And that's when you give them a surprise.
So let me give more relation here
Got
because
it.
I think for our audience, anybody that's listening probably has knows of Ben Johns or has
Oh,
seen
yeah,
him play.
absolutely.
And there's something about watching him play that he makes it look effortless, right?
Bingo.
That
The
he is
flow to win the
not
dough. Uh-huh.
he's
Absolutely.
not doing much on the court, but seems to be in the right position all the time. So
Because he has
what is it?
mastered one thing. Do you know what he's mastered?
Yeah. No,
What
tell me.
is it?
This is why I want to know.
That's what you want to know. Contact.
Yeah.
It's not a
Okay.
backswing or follow through. It's contact. When you understand contact, you can control wherever that ball goes.
Okay. Tell me more.
Well, it's just like getting contact. It's not a swing, it's that contact, and then you can adjust what you want. He's prepared early, but he has wonder. His movement and anticipation is like a dancer. He's like a
Yeah.
barista coffee. You know what I mean? He's just like he flows. He's
No
there.
wasted steps.
No,
No
no.
wasted
But
steps.
it's here. But he's also tracks the ball so brilliantly because his brain is very strongly wired. You watch his eyes, his brain, his movement, his shoulders, his hips, his boom, his body alignment is so pristine.
Huh.
See, most players, their hands are one place, the feet are another place, their head's another
Yeah.
way. They're all over the place. And this is where he's learned to calm it down, to work with his body instead of fight his body. Most players fight their body. I can usually watch a match, watch their eyes, whatever, say, okay, they're going to win. You know what I mean? It's like, you see the movement and whatever by the way they're
Yeah.
wired in their body language and things like that. It's
So
just a
if, so
new
if I'm
way of
listening,
learning it. Hmm?
so if I'm listening to this right now and I'm like, how the hell do I go and practice this? Like, what do I need to focus on? Like, what should I
Mhm.
be taking out of this conversation to the court that allows me to stay calmer, more compressed, more moving like Ben Johns in an effortless manner out there?
Okay. So, one thing that will help you a little bit will be some wall work. The simple of a
Okay.
wall work. Learning to feel. It's the wrist isolation is really that's your contact.
Okay.
Contact and wrist isolation, as well as positioning of your body. That type. Learning to track and position and get to the ball. You've got to do that. But it's like working with the quickness. Keep doing like the mini balls, do combinations, but a lot of little stuff of mixing in and out. Or a lot of times, what I do as coaching I will feed a player so many balls in a row. As soon as the ball's hit, in other words, there's two or three being hit at once, and they've got to learn to keep their eyes up and focus on the same thing. That's where I do the
Huh.
neuro training type stuff. You know what I mean? You got to come down. I'd love to work with you. Come down and we
Yeah.
can
Listen.
have a little bit of fun.
Uh,
But it's a situation. But it's like putting you out of your comfort zone. That's where the plasticity comes in, is forcing the brain to do something it's never done before in a quicker time and a faster time and a different things, and letting it learn to adapt by keeping your eyes up. And the only way you're going to succeed is doing less and getting more. And the other let
give
me
me.
share the other. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What else?
No, I was gonna say, give me 1 second. I have my
Oh, go ahead.
dog barking in the background, so she's gonna come.
Oh,
But I'll let you continue.
go ahead. No, go. Get your dog if you need
So
it.
no, she's good. My girlfriend just came in, so she's settled
Oh,
down
good.
now. But she's
Oh, good.
she's a great
What
girl.
type of dog?
So we have a mini golden doodle.
Oh, those are
She's
beautiful.
she is 8, and she is the most loving, easiest
Oh,
going dog. but she loves to greet you with her voice. So
Oh,
if there's
yes.
anything, if there's anything when you come in the door, she will be greeting you, and she'll be greeting you probably with a toy afterwards.
It's like, hi,
So
Dad, come on, let's go. Oh, what's her
exactly,
name? What's her
exactly.
name?
Her name is Luna.
Luna. Ooh,
Yes,
cool.
she's the best. We're very thankful for her.
That's neat.
Kind of getting into a piece of where the sport is going. There often is some fears that may be associated with the unknown, right? When you don't necessarily know where pickleball is going. These are really geared towards you rather than trying to help
Mhm.
people in the audience. So my question would be like, what is your greatest fear moving forward?
But to me, there's excitement versus fear. I love
Okay,
challenges. You know what I mean? I've just
well,
been
break it down for me.
kind of a go-getter. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
and sometimes I'll fall flat. You know what I mean? It's
Mm.
like when I was doing showing horses, I got thrown into a fence and I got at a horse show, and then we were jumping the fences, and the young horse that I'd been asked to ride exploded and took off with me, threw me, and I almost broke ribs. But then I had to get over my fear because the next week or two I was going to ride another horse, and then another weird thing happened, and I said, Lord, is this, it was right around the time Christopher Reeves got, really almost so seriously killed, almost killed,
Okay.
and then I faced it, but then I faced my fears and went out and won my first place ribbon. Then later on went into Del Mar Nationals in dressage. You know what I mean? But it's just like facing the fears, is what you're saying, failing first. You do have to fail, but then
Mm.
you have to fail, but you also have to face your fears, as you were just saying, the fears. To me, I'm thrilled. I'm so excited about the growth of the sport globally, because I think, in the US, it was more the seniors, and then now going down to the juniors. In the other
Mhm.
parts of the world, it's the reverse of that. It's more juniors going to seniors. But to me, using the sport of pickleball to share joy in the world and to help bring peace in the world and to do things that are positivity and the health and the wellness is one of the things that lights me up like a Christmas tree, because I see the benefit pickleball can do for the world right now.
There's just something about the sport. We sat down with another guest earlier that
Mhm.
we were talking about this. It's just like it's able to touch so many different demographics, so
Yeah.
many ages, so many different skill levels. If I'm being honest with you, when you're able
Hmm.
to have so much fun playing a sport,
Yeah.
and there is no other sport really like that. Like when I think of golf or I think of tennis,
Yeah.
there's a lot of there's there's a high skill level for entry to be
Hmm.
able to rally a tennis ball, right? Or
Yeah.
in golf, right? You're hitting this really tiny ball into a gopher hole. I think it was, I forgot what
Exactly.
comedian said that, right?
Yeah.
But with that being said, like it's also a very high skill sport. So the barrier for
Mhm.
entry is tough. With
Yeah.
pickleball, the barrier for entry to actually play, have a good time is so minimal. It is just touching people, I think, beyond what we still understand, which is really the point that you're getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because what sport in the world can you have grandparents, parents, kids, and grandkids all in the same court having a blast?
How crazy is that,
Zero other sport. You know what I mean? It just,
right?
that's the fun part of it. Yeah.
It's awesome. And what's so awesome about this is that you are going to be at PickleCon come
Oh, yeah.
August, I think
Yeah.
7th through the 10th in
Absolutely. I'm
Kansas
honored
City.
to come back again. Exactly.
And you're going to be meeting so many people face to face, right? So I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of people listening to this right now are fired up about everything that you just talked about and want to know more.
Mhm.
But like at PickleCon, what is like the couple things that you hope they take away from it, that they may come up to you, have a conversation, and actually are able to take either on the court or off the court in their life?
I just, one of the neat things I wanted, everyone has gifts and greatness
Mm.
within them. And when people
Okay.
understand that, some people, they get beaten, whatever. You have grit, and the key thing is just to find out how to package it. You know what I mean? This is where how to grow your gifts into greatness, because everyone has
Mm.
that. And that's one thing I want to inspire everyone. Because what's amazing at pickleball, it's like a beautiful three-ring circus. It's got the best. You've got the tournaments going on, you've got the vendors, you've got the speakers, you've got the coaching, we've got all the stuff going on at once. It's so much fun. I mean, and Triple Crown Sports does an outstanding job on this
Mm.
event. That's another reason I was joyfully coming back for a second year. But it's just the key thing to take away is catch the joy of pickleball. It's not so much about, but find your joy. You know what I mean? And this is where that's the reason you play pickleball, the joy of it.
Yeah.
It's fun. It feels when you walk off the court, you feel better than when you walked on the court. And then when people can tap into the joy, then they can handle everything else in life. Because pickleball kind of teaches how to win the game of life. We've got to know how to keep showing up, keep
Mm.
swinging, and keep smiling. If you'll do those three things, you can kind of handle almost anything. You missed a shot, so what? Keep showing up, keep swinging, keep smiling.
Oof, I feel like I could talk to you for hours, Joy. Man, oh man. Um, this has really been such a rich and honestly meaningful conversation. So I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate that. But before we finish, I want to make sure people can keep learning from you, right? Because that's
Oh,
really what they're doing. They're learning as in as much capacity as they can and finding
yeah,
enjoyment in the sport.
right.
So, what is the best way for people to find you, to follow your work, to continue to learn from you from this moment on?
Um, they can get me on LinkedIn
Okay.
or also just Dr. Joy, DRJOY at joyofpickleball.com. Easy.
Okay.
Excellent.
Is there is there anything else that you may hope that our audience receives from this conversation? Is there one piece of advice that summarizes everything that we just talked about?
Ooh, wow. Um, Let the joy of pickleball empower your life because it
Okay,
can.
I agree with that. I really do.
Mhm,
I think that there's to elaborate on that with you.
mhm.
Um, I think it stems for me from the human connection that you're able to develop through
Oh, yeah.
pickleball. I just
Yes.
think it's such an intimate sport. It's so
Mhm,
close. And a
mhm.
lot of other sports, you're very far from your opponents.
Yeah.
And I think that's what allows you to connect with your opponents beyond
Mhm.
just like them being an opponent, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
if you're playing with family, if you're playing with friends, if you're playing in a
Mhm,
tournament,
mhm.
it's so tight knit that you
Yeah.
often find yourself talking with your opponents right afterwards.
But
So I
the
absolutely love that
friends.
using pickleball as a tool to find joy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your time today,
Oh,
Joy.
my pleasure.
Like I said, that this conversation was so meaningful and
Oh,
very rich, very, very,
good.
very, very rich. So there's going to be a lot of value for everybody
Good.
that listened to it today, and
Excellent.
I'm just so thankful to be able to speak to you today. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much, Al. It's been an honor and pleasure. You're doing great things.